I flipped through the pages of an old, tattered magazine, its edges sprinkled with mysterious goo and a sap-like substance. I imagined all the hands it must have passed through over the years, but wasn't surprised, because Sam, the owner of Bristol's grocery store, hadn't thrown anything away since the place opened in the 80s. I was on night shift for the first time, all by myself in a Park Grocery Park gas station out in the middle of nowhere, Tennessee. The hills, covered in a cobalt blue moonlight, were the only thing to accompany me. No yellow headlights, no families scurrying to refuel for their vacation destinations, their little ones scraping their stuffed animals against the oily, paved road. That crowd was gone. All I had was a hope, and a prayer that I wouldn't meet what haunted my imagination. I sat at one of the dining tables, resting my head on my arms, while gazing out the window next to me. I thought about how lucky I was to be blessed with the luxury of working night shift. As I was recovering from a minor eye procedure, I looked and felt ridiculous with a patch on my left eye, not to mention a bit on edge, as I had to be extra cautious with my surroundings. After that thought, just before I spaced out, something crashed right into the glass. I fell out of the booth onto the floor, my heart pounding. I searched for air, my eye focusing on bruised shaded feathers oozing down the glass. I scrunched my brow. Damn crow, I panted, standing to my feet. As my fear grew into frustration, I acknowledged my reflection, then bid it goodbye with pastel yellow curtains. I sighed and looked down at the creaky, hardwood floors, making a tune with my foot on one of the loose boards to distract myself. I glanced at the clock, 30 minutes into shift, the entire night to go, to further pass the time and to keep my mind off my nerves. In the stabbing black void outside, I decided to stock the shelves. I organized the candy bars, including the Three Musketeers ones, except of course for one that went into my mouth. As I was reading the label on the wrapper, a head-shaped blur flinched at the corner of my eye an aisle over. Then it ducked out of sight before I could focus on it. I looked up, recollecting what I had just seen, and the way I felt when it glared right at me. I listened in silence, my eye darting to all corners of the room. Hello. I turned the corner and looked down another aisle. Stacked bottles of Coke fell over on the opposite side, spewing everywhere. Without a thought, I sprinted to the front of the store, leapt over the mini staircase, into the office, and locked the door. Sitting against it, I took out my cell phone and called Sam. There wasn't a ring. I glanced at the screen with my good eye. No service. I grabbed the landline and dialed Sam's number. He answered in an unexpected way. Girl, why you calling me at this hour? You know better than to. Sam, listen, there's someone in the store. With me, I said, remembering to breathe. Good. Let him know about our discounted shelf, he said. No, I'm not talking about a customer. I don't know what it is, but it's after me. I need you to come pick me up, I said, holding the phone skin tight to my face. I heard Sam turn over in his bed. There ain't nothing out to get you, girl. I bet it's one of them roof rats. I've been meaning to trim back those trees that hang over the store. I sat and thought. Roof rats? Yep. How about you go check it out? And if you see something you ain't sure about again, call the police. They're 45 minutes out at least. I can't count on them, I whispered, listening for life on the other side of the door. Fine, call me back then if you need to, but I can't promise I'll answer, Sam said. Flick. Sam. I hung up the phone, its echo of a faint ring stinging my nerves. I cracked open the door, peeked through, and after deciding I was alone, I walked down the stairs into the quiet, lonely space. I scanned the store, then glanced out through the front door at the dimly lit gas pumps. Hugging my sweater, I gulped. Just relax, I thought. There's no one here but me. There's no one here but me. Then, just behind the register, the hardwoods creaked. My skin crawled, and for whatever reason, I tiptoed towards the register and peeked behind the counter, my eyes fixated on shadows and boxes underneath. I didn't see anything, but at that realization, I heard stomping. I looked all around the store, and nothing was there, but the stomping grew louder and louder as if someone was coming right at me. I screamed, running backwards until I fell out of the front entrance onto the wooden porch. I crab walked my way off it onto the parking lot, then found my feet again. I backed away, now able to see the roof of the store. Above it, the moon was there watching me, and as I glanced back at it, several pairs of complimentary eyes blinked opened on top of the shingles. For a moment, I was a fawn, frozen in time. When the figures inched their way down the roof, life returned to me, and I ran, and ran, and ran. Trees flew in either direction like rolls of film. After what felt like an eternity, I stopped in an opening of the forest, where a cemetery laid. Greenish blue moonbeams seeped through the trees, and onto the faded tombstones. I placed my hands on my knees, begging the air to return to me. I took out my phone and held it up, but already knew there wouldn't be any signal in the forest. I cried. Tears flooded my eyes so badly that everything around me was blurry. I looked ahead, suddenly seeing something appear from behind one of the tombstones. I wiped away my tears and saw a gray figure void of any features, about the size of a child, with its glowing, apple-green eyes. I knew better than to dismiss it as that. Others like it, some larger, appeared from the other tombstones, then stood still. "What do you want?" I yelled. They began to approach me, and my desire to know the answer faded. I ran for my life back towards the store, hearing them sprint behind me and on all sides. I glanced up at the treetops when I felt their presence on the branches, thinking it would be a miracle if I made it back alive. At that thought, the ground fell below me. I laid on my back, afraid to move due to being in pain. I stared ahead and attempted to gather myself. At the edge of the ditch above me, the figures and their beady eyes slowly looked over the edge. This was it. This is how I would die. All of this for minimum wage. For a few seconds, the creatures took their eyes off me and onto something else. I turned my gaze to the top of a wooded hill and saw a large silhouette of what looked like a buck standing there, its antlers reaching towards the sky. It sprinted away, and the creatures flocked after it. This was my one chance. I held back tears as I attempted to step onto my left leg. It was too dark to see it, but I could feel heat gathering at my ankle. I managed to hop on one leg through the forest, using whatever tree or stump I could for support. When I made it back to the store, I wished with every fiber of my being that I didn't have to go back in. But there was nowhere else to go. I didn't have a car, so I would have to find a way to survive until my ride came in the morning. I stood in the parking lot for a moment, just praying. "Just please make this go away. Make this go away," I chanted. At the same time, I felt a tap, tap, tap on my shoulder. I turned, and an overweight, pale man with dark hair and a mole was towering over me. "Excuse me, ma'am, but my receipt won't print at the gas pump," he said with a cigarette in his mouth, pointing over to his gargantuan semi-truck. "Just a second," I replied, attempting to keep it together. With my shoulders bolted to my ears, I made my way back inside, ignoring my surroundings except the front register. I glanced back out to get the number of his gas pump, which was 13, then commanded my computer to print the receipt. I ripped it out of the printer and walked back to the truck, but the man was nowhere to be found. I looked underneath the truck's trailer for his feet, then to the back at the swing door. I heard sinister voices whisper from inside, speaking a language unfamiliar to me. "Oh God," I thought. The swing door flung up, releasing a flood of a thin, tar-like substance. It knocked me to the ground, covering me entirely. I could barely see. Dozens of the featureless creatures fell out of the truck, appearing to blend into one. They came in hordes, grabbing at my ankles. My eye burning, I managed to jump up and begin to run, guessing where the store was. I could hear them crawling and slithering behind me. I knew I was at the porch when I fell on my face. I leapt up and felt around for the doorway, then locked the door just in time before I could hear them run into it. I scooted what felt like a bookshelf in front of it and waited. The doorknob shook. Voices screeched from the other side. With overwhelming fear, I passed out. "Hey girl, you in there?" I heard a voice ask. I flinched awake, trying to sit up but felt incredibly sticky. I wiped my eye and was relieved that my vision had almost fully returned. I scanned the room. There was tar everywhere. I unlocked the door and saw Sam standing at the doorway. What the hell happened? He was studying my body in horror. I ripped my name tag off my shirt and before I walked out, slapped it onto his palm. "Move, rats,"